now it's happening.
I'm always happy to talk about my brainworms.
Is this a Parker original?
No, so Shawn came up with the base list, and then I made some tweaks, and then Shawn also made some tweaks, and we just keep working on it together.
So it's Shawn and Parker brainchild.
I would say so. I mean, Shawn's the one who was just like, Parker, this is the deck I'm playing. And I saw Stalactite Stalker and other blue-black tempo cards. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, we got some of that and some blue-black Reanimator. Yeah. All right. Let me.
What happened to the couch?
I threw it out.
No. What's happening?
It's trash.
Bummer.
Yeah, let's get the deck tech going here. Here, I'll give you some of these. We're just gonna sort them into the cards of their respective name or something.
Oh, look at this nonsense they use them.
And we'll just put lands in like
The main deck is complete bullshit.
Breaking out the deck. Where's Nick Miller when you need him for a deck tech?
Herd migration.
Yep. You discard it to get the basic. You gain 2 life.
Do you ever hardcast?
Oh, you hardcast all the time, but in early game, it gains you 3 life against mono red. It fixes your land drops. It's pretty good.
This deck plays basics. Holy shit.
All right. Yeah, let's get everything laid out neatly. You want to do it by CMC?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll put like the cantrips together here, and then we'll get like the stockies right there. We got like some of that. We got some of this. These are kind of the stars of the show, I feel like.
Yeah, I think the important thing to talk about is probably the package, the stalkers.
Cool.
And then the shell as a whole.
I agree.
And then like individual choices on like the mana base and the numbers and things.
I agree. Should we how should we do this? Is this better? What's the better presentation like?
The camera
this
is.
Or this?
It's right set up when Parker's in. So
like this or this?
Okay, so
like the way the days is
facing towards me. Okay, so then yeah, we'll just lay it out right here.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll do like some of these like right here. Got some reanimates. We'll put the boring cards in the back. Yeah. What a surprise. Blue deck playing Ponder and Brainstorm. No one could have foresaw this. Yeah, we got some of that. Yeah, some of these. Some of those. We got some tech removal here. Yeah, we got some of these. And then, oh yeah, I can't forget these fellas. The good guys. Got some of the lands, we got some of the big guys. We'll put some of the big uns over here. We got some Force of Will action. We got some
the same 16 cards at the very top of it.
Some of that's, or actually we'll move it down because we have the grease here. We'll do like that maybe.
still the same 16 cards.
Yeah. Still the same 16 cards.
Like that, and then we'll put like these, like right here. Yeah, we'll do that. And then we can break out the lands here, and then Shawn, you want
do not put the underground sea there. That is directly under the light.
All right, we'll put the lands like over here somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, Shawn, give us the deets. How did you come up with this?
I was gonna say one of the big things is that like I think we are 58. I think we're 58 out of 60, the same on how we're playing the main deck right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
No, 59 out of 60. Because the only difference in how I'm currently running the main deck is I'm one less Bowmaster plus one Animate Dead.
One less Bowmaster plus Animate Dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that so how come you're deciding to do that?
I felt like having a 5th reanimation spell makes it for more explosive openers with the reanimation package.
Mm-hmm.
And also having access to an Animate Dead makes your Atraxa flips a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because you can sometimes just snag one extra card type and not have to spend your sorcery spot on a reanimate, and you could get a Ponder or a reanimate and an Animate Dead.
Yeah, you're kind of making Entomb a better card by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I kind of dig that.
basically, the way that this came about was I saw Stalker. I said, Stalker looks fun. I want to play a Stalker deck. I have most of the cards to play blue-black scam. Started putting together blue-black scam and was like, I'm gonna jam a Reanimator package in this.
Hell yeah.
And
That's
just
the way
like,
to do it.
it was just like, well, this actually works well with Stalker too, because Entomb's just like another way to trigger your Stalkers. And like, I don't know, playing a lot of post-board traditional Reanimator and seeing how well the deck functions when your main engine is just 4 Entombs and then like mid-range cards.
Yeah.
I was like, I think that having cantrips only makes that better. So it just felt like it was be something that would be viable.
Yeah, I really like I think one thing, like one of the most powerful things to be doing in Legacy right now is like a Scaminator deck, honestly. I think that's kind of like the best way to approach the meta because it's like so proactive, where you still get to have these busted counterspells and Days of Force of Will, and like you really get to hammer that like turns 1 and 2 are still like really critical. And then you also like have 2 very different game plans that the opponent has to respect, and they kind of have to like chance on like, I can beat this game plan but not this game plan kind of thing. And so I think when I saw the list, I was just like, holy shit. Like I've been thinking about it for about a week or two about like, how do I find like the Rescaminator deck that I want to play? And then you posted this and it's like, holy shit. Shawn read my thoughts. This is like kind of the deck I want to play.
It feels just incredible every single time I play it. Like
Yes.
I am 4-1ing all of my leagues. I'm trying so hard for a trophy, but just like
when it like a brew is like constantly 4-1ing and like churning through the leagues, it's just like, oh, this shit's got legs.
yeah.
Like it's not like that's nothing to scoff at.
And like you were saying about having the 2 alternate game plans, like I remember queuing into a match against Turbo Muxus and just being like, okay, this draw that they had, if I'm just playing Blue Light Scam, there's 0 way I'm beating this.
Yeah.
But because I had access to a turn 2 Atraxa, I ended up winning that game 1.
Yeah, you're just dominating combat. You're just like, do you have a Bombos?
Yeah.
Like that's the only real way that you can ever deal with this Atraxa.
Mm-hmm.
You're forcing them on a 1 of 4 in their deck. Yeah, honestly, like Muxus has really like fucked the pace of the meta. Honestly.
Oh, because of the Mind Goblin?
Yeah, Namesicker Goblin is really powerful. Like Muxus like came about because like Beans was kind of being too oppressive, and now like since Muxus is like a really big part of the meta, like Beans doesn't really stand a chance, and then the rest of the meta has to like kind of speed up to keep up with Muxus. And so like when you have something like this, like these blue-black piles with Wasteland and Daze are actually like exactly what Muxus does not want to play against. And then when you have 2 diverging plans that they have to then worry about, when you start putting them on the back foot, their deck starts to like really shit the bed. Yeah.
So something also that people have asked me about over the last 24 to 48 hours is the mana base.
Yes.
Basic Swamp versus no basics versus basic Island. And then whether or not it's viable to play like Watery Grave Mystic Sanctuary.
I think the basic Swamp is really important. Like especially if you look at the showcase results, you have a mono red in the top 8, and then you have like 3 other hyper proactive red decks, which means Magus of the Moon and Blood Moon. And I think Mana Denial is really strong right now, again because Turbo Muxus is really soft to Mana Denial. And so like the rest of the meta is like, okay, well like the really good decks are doing Mana Denial, and so you need that basic Swamp to kind of get under you, or that basic. And I think the basic Swamp is actually better than the basic Island, because the way I think about Island versus Swamp, Island is very reactive while Swamp is very proactive. And like you have like 12 black cards in here that you're like, I want to cast this because they end the game. You have Entomb, you have Reanimate, you have Stalactite Stalker. Those cards are really fucking good. I mean, Orcish Bowmaster's like the entire Legacy meta is warped around being hardened against Bowmasters playing it. But like Swamp is just like, I think kind of where the deck wants to be. A little bit of a non-bow with Murktide Regent, but like Murktide Regent is just like, oh, oops.
Murktide Regent is an oops I win, but not a primary game plan for this deck.
I agree. I think like you're just like you're thinking like I'm scamming them and then I'm putting a Stalactite Stalker into play. Here's like between 4 to 6 power. Deal with it after I've disrupted you twice.
Yeah, and I'm in full agreement on the mana base. deck is skewed to be a very aggressive deck.
Yeah.
You don't have room for some of the grindy cards that traditional blue-black scam would play, like your Mystic Sanctuary, Sauron's Ransom, etc.
Yeah.
I think you have to forsake those cards in favor of the Reanimator package, and you're basically saying, I'm going to play an aggressive game and close this game quickly.
You know what's really good for grinding out games? Putting in a track set to play, drawing 4 fresh ones, and then winning combat every turn. You know, you draw a fucking Force of Will, Wasteland, like Brainstorm, and like a stalactite stalker. It's like, cool, here's 3 pieces or 2 pieces of interaction, and then here's another threat. You know, and then I still have the 7/7 that just wins combat every time that you have to worry about. That's better than just like going 3 mana, draw 2 cards that hopefully are good.
So like, this deck is very heavily inspired by Blue Black Scam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, what are the advantages of playing it over Blue Black Scam? Like,
Scam sucks. I think traditional Scam is just like it's already like. I think it's just like kind of outlived its like life. If you play traditional blue-black Scam, you're eating white bread. You know, you're not getting the juicy rye bread. You're not getting like, you know, some of the fancier, ritzier bread. You know, you're not getting Dave's Killer bread. You're getting like that shitty like $2 loaf of bread when you play blue-black Scam. And I think like doing like vanilla, like super plain white bread decks in Legacy right now are just like that. Whatever, you can do that, but I think you're heavily rewarded. You're super rewarded for innovation. Legacy's very open right now, and like you will get paid off for innovating and bringing something new to the table. Even if it's only like 10 to 12 cards different, that's still quite a lot of different cards to see in a Legacy deck that really changes the dynamic of games. Like
The flavor and the texture.
The flavor and the texture of the game. So like 2 examples of this in the showcase top 8, you actually see 2 blue-black, you know, tempo shells, but they're very different decks. One of them's a Delver deck, and the other's a Hogak deck. What the blue-black Scam deck in the top 8 is, it's called blue-black Scam, but it's Hogak. It's blue-black Hogak, you know, with Hogak, and then you have the Stitcher Supplier. You have the tempo cards. You have Grief Scam, and then the other deck. You know, you also have Grief Scam, but you're a Delver deck, and you're on 14 lands, 4 of which are Wasteland. Like that's very like not the regular. These 2 decks are not the regular at all. And those 2 players, I mean, both of them are very good players. I think it was like Jake TMS or something, like always at the top of the trophy board, but like rewarded for just like going in, trying something very different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're like blue-black Scam, traditional blue-black Scam, probably like it's a fine deck. It has legacy cards, but I think like you should go and try something different. You know, change 8 of the cards, change the dynamic of the deck, change how it plays on turn 1 and 2, and like how it can, like, you know, when the game kind of reaches a dip on turn 3 and then it resumes on turns 4 and 5 normally. How does the deck pick up from there?
so basically, like Blue Black Scam is missing like a little bit. Like I feel like Blue Black Scam right now is like a deck that tilts your opponent on turn 1. That's how you win. But your opponent doesn't get tilted; they win, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like when you back up the Grief Scam with a Ponder, it sucks. Grief Scam itself does not win. It's the additional pressure with the Grief Scam that wins the game.
Who was it that once said on Twitter, remind me to never register Grief in Legacy unless I'm following it up with an Entomb?
Who was that? Was it you?
It was someone else.
That's a good quote. Like legit, you follow up the Grief Scam with pressure. You can't just like sit on your laurels and be like, yeah, this 3/2. Well, I start with 3 cards in my hand. It's gonna get there. It's not how Legacy works. Legacy works A plus B. You're fucking dead. That's how it goes. It's not like 3 or 4 card combos. You know, it's not building up all these synergies to win a game like it is in Modern sometimes. In Legacy, it's boom, Cephalid Illusionist, Shuko, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
You know.
No, Stalker's better than Delver. You heard it here first.
Stalker is really good. Also, yeah, I mean, like, during the the Legacy Super Qual, like, you look at all the Death Shadow lists, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm at the top, and I'm the only one playing Stalactite Stalker. This card is nuts.
Delver is a relic of the past, man. People think that card is still good. It's only good because you have Daze in the deck.
I still think it's relevant because Graveyard Hate is really effective against Delver decks, and Delver Secrets can ignore Graveyard Hate. When I was testing with Jarvis a little bit, like he was saying, or one of the thoughts, like, he tried Stalactite Stalker over Delver Secrets, and, like, the thing about it is then, like, all of your threats are neutered by Graveyard Hate, and that's not where you want to be. Someone puts a Leyline of Void into play, you're just like, fuck, I'm dead. You know? That sucks. So, I still think Delver has its place. It's just now Black has its own Delver, and it kind of opens up this new world where you're just like, cool. Black has like this insane Delver Secrets that grew to be a 7/7 in that game against Curran, and it also has an activated ability.
It has removal tacked onto it, which is just absurd.
Yeah, you could remove the activated ability, and it's still a great card, but like that extra flavor text is relevant. You know. Yes, like it is like a very relevant part of the card. But I think this is kind of the new hotness, and like it kind of like opens up like Legacy, and like, okay, so we've had Turbo Muxus as this menace, and it's like soft against Wasteland decks, and like maybe I don't want to play Blue Red Delver or Blue Red X Delver. What can I do? And now you're just like, I have Stalactite Stalker, which I can put it in a Dazed Wasteland strategy, and now I can attack the Legacy meta in a very different way and start putting Muxus on the back foot when it wants to be a super proactive deck. Now when you're bringing black cards into your deck, and you're thinking about cards like, well, when red's really popular, when red's really fast, what's really good against that? Snuff Out. Then you have a big uptick in Snuff Out, and then like the whole meta just gets fucking jumbled. So, I think like something like this is very powerful, and I think a Rescaminator deck like this is very, very good because it attacks with the tempo front, and then it also has the I'm also Reanimator. So.
There was a question in the chat, what is the advantage to playing this over just playing Blue-Black Reanimator and boarding into this? And personally, I currently think the mid-range plan is better than the Reanimator plan for Blue-Black.
Yeah.
I think if you want to be on a Reanimator plan, you should be on traditional Reanimator, not Blue-Black. You shouldn't be going for cantrips and counterspells. You should be maxed out on discard. You should be fully all in on doing the combo in your main deck. If your primary game plan is to combo and to reanimate, you shouldn't be on this deck.
Yeah.
This is a mid-range deck first with a combo in it.
Yeah. I agree. I think like if Blue-Black Reanimator, I don't like it because it takes out a lot of like the things that make Red-Black Reanimator strong. I think Blue-Black Reanimator does not put pressure on mulligan decisions and sideboarding decisions the same way Red-Black does. I think that's one of the biggest strengths of Red-Black is that. And I think like because like Blue-Black Reanimator is typically like a turn or two slower than Red-Black, then it gives people time to edge into a game and just like find their footing. And then you put in the Gristlebrand on turn 3 as opposed to being like, I'm threatening Gristlebrand on turn 1. How does that affect your mulligans? Mm-hmm. It forces people to ask themselves if they want to take this risk, or if they want how many mistakes do they want to make.
That is something I've talked about in the Discord, is like the dynamic of pressuring resources and pressuring mulligans before the game starts.
Yeah.
It's something you and I have talked about prior as well.
Yeah. Yeah, like we definitely had these conversations where it's like, like outside of the game, how does a deck affect a player? And like Red-Black Reanimator is just like, you're just a super proactive deck, and you're just pressuring someone and making them nervous outside of the game,
And then with Blue-Black Reanimator, you give them too much time.
Yes, you give people too much breathing room, because Red-Black Reanimators, if they're on the play, they're starting the game on turn 0. Mm-hmm. Much more frequently than Blue-Black is. And like when you give a deck time to like be able to respond to a Reanimator game plan, someone's going to figure out, this is exactly like, these are the cards I need. I cast my cantrips, or I got my card set up here, here, and here. I got 2 extra draw steps in. Oh, look at that! It's 2 Swords to Plowshares. Or here's my endurance, and then here's my backup endurance. It's shit like that. You just give people draw steps, and draw steps in Legacy are very powerful.
Letting someone sculpt their hand with a brainstorm is very different than forcing them to pitch that brainstorm to a force spell on turn 1.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
Oh. So there are 4 entombs in this list, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you think about like Entomb in this kind of list? Like it's like a good card on turn 1, right? But have you ever like experienced like issues with it later in the game?
Later in the game, it is a Stalker +1/+1 counter.
Yeah. Honestly, like,
or it pitches to a grief, like,
yeah,
or you brainstorm it away.
This deck is kind of living on turns 1 and 2 a lot, and kind of turn 3-ish, And so like You're not really like turn 5. Yeah, like if it's turn 5, both players are likely in top deck mode. This is a super interactive deck, right? And a lot of legacy decks are very interactive with each other. And so like when it's turn 4 or 5, people are going to be like, oh, look at that, here's my dead card. You know, you're playing against Cephalid breakfast, they're just like, here's my Dread Return. Damn it. You know, kind of shit. So like, of course, like Entomb's not always going to be a live card, but it's still, you know, it's a very
Still worth
threatening
it, right?
card. Yeah.
The early game pressure is worth it to put 4 in your deck, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the card is very, very good. Like you should, like people need to play with the card to understand that like putting the exact, tutoring your library in general for 1 mana is very good. It's very strong.
What do you think about the, what?
No, go ahead.
What do you think about the blue card count on this deck? Do you ever run into issues with the blue card count?
12, 16, 18. We have 19. I think that's good enough. That's gonna.
I haven't run into issue with it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And like I think like the Force of Will, you know, the Force of Will math of like the prior days, you know, before Fire design cards started hitting Legacy, where it's just like you want like your 24 or your 25 blue cards. You really want to have like 2 or 3 Force of Wills in a game. Like the current Legacy situation is just like I have 1 good Force of Will. Sweet.
You need 1 Force Will to win the game, right?
Yeah, like in a deck like this where you're like, alright, this 1 Force of Will is going to put Attrax into play for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Deal. Yeah. So it's just like, you know, you Entomb, they let it resolve, and you try and reanimate, they force it, and then you force it back. You're just like, you have a second, you have another Force Will and a blue card, or some, you know, or something adjacent to that.
either your hand's empty or your hand's emptier, and I have an Attrax and a grip.
Yeah. So the blue card count is just like, yeah, like, you know, it's gonna find the Force of Will blue card frequently within the first 2 turns of the game, or you know, sometimes you'll hit the 2. And like in the sideboard too, you also have a lot of blue cards, right? You have 3 blasts, and then you have 2 brazen borrowers, you have 2 force negations, and like, you know, it's you can toggle the deck with like the color counts and whatnot. Right now, I don't own Force of Despairs, but like I am tinkering with Force of Despair right
Ain't
now.
no way you're taking Force of Despair.
Bro,
That's crazy.
Bro, I'm playing 2. I'm playing 2 because Turbo Nexus, Red White
That's
Initiative, and Mono Red are decks, and like those decks are really soft to black removal. You know,
I guess
it is kind of a drug when someone goes turn 1 Magus of the Moon under a Cavern of Souls, and you're just like, yeah, resolves, end step, Force of Despair, bye. They spent 4 cards, you spent 2, and your mana's unlocked. And you didn't care about the Cavern of Souls. That's particularly an issue against Red White Initiative and Turbo Nexus, where those both play Cavern of Souls. You know? So, yeah, no, I'm tinkering with Force of Despair. I think it's technology that like people should try a little bit and tinker with, especially like as the format is very red at the moment. Of course, format's always going to be blue, but like the format's also very red. There's 3 very powerful red decks in the top 10 decks easily.
So, well, you're talking about the sideboard, right? Do you 2 mostly have the same sideboard, or is this
No.
No.
Our sideboards are very different.
This is kind of how I sculpted my sideboard. Like Shawn's playing 3 Voidwalkers. I was like, fuck it, I'll play 3 Voidwalkers. I love that. I love that card. So this, like, a lot of this is like kind of translating from Shadowland for me.
Yeah, I can see the shadow in this one.
You know, it's just like you have the Powder Cave because like you're playing like 20 some odd, I think it's like 22, 24 1-drops or something like that. So you really want the explosives effects, I think. I'm playing the Null Rod because I fucking hate anything Card Forge related. You know, anything that's dumping like 20 artifacts into play, I'm over it. I hate it. I'll play the Null Rod, and I also don't like playing as A-Cast. I'll play a Null Rod, happy enough with it. I'm playing 2 Snuff Outs in paper, but I think those will be Force of Despairs. I'm playing the 3 Hydroblast. Aforementioned reason, there's 3 really strong decks in the top 10 decks that are red decks, and I think Hydroblast is very premium at the moment. 2 Force of Negations, it's easy, you know. And then you have 2 Brazen Borrowers. Brazen Borrower is also good against Chalice decks, and Brazen Borrower is just flex tape in general. So that's kind of how I constructed mine. And I mean, it's just, most of it's just quality cards, and then you have like a Night card in No Rod.
Shawn, how do you sideboard?
My sideboard is very skewed towards Delver, beating Delver. I'm drawn 2 pushes in the main, 2 pushes on the side.
That's crazy. 4 pushes.
2 Brazen Borrowers, 2 Shieldred's Edict, 2 Collective Brutality.
Yeah. Their shit's not surviving.
No, and when I play against Delver, it is just like disgusting for them. Like,
yeah,
they have to get a Murktide because I'm killing everything else, and then I have Edict and Brazen Borrower for the Murktide.
Yeah. I think I'd probably need to take notes from you because when I played against Delver last night, and you saw it on stream, I was kind of hopefully this Murktide doesn't kill me, kind of thing, and hopefully I put enough pressure on the board where the Murktide doesn't matter. And it's like you saying that you have 2 Shieldred's Edicts. I'm just maybe I should probably play some Edicts, or maybe I really should play this stuff out,
The Shieldred's Edicts do get better when you can Fatal Push literally everything else.
Yeah, that's true. When you're playing a set of pushes, it's pretty good. Yeah. No, I like the Fatal Pushes main deck. I think those are fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think just Atraxa plus Interaction is pretty strong together. That's what we call a wombo combo.
Fair enough. 7/7 Flying Lifelink Vigilance Death Touch, pretty good.
And then draw 4 cards, interact with you more. When you're
sometimes 5 you hit an Animate Dead.
I was thinking about that, because with the Yorion Scaminator list, I had 6 types in the main deck. I also had Artifact and Enchantment in the Urza Saga, and I had the 4 Saga targets for artifacts. I've definitely had Atraxas for 6. Those are nasty.
I don't think it's correct, but I have considered playing a Miser's Lotus Petal, just as I can grab this off Atraxa, it triggers Stalker, and it gives you the potential for a turn 1 reanimate.
Yeah.
But I think it waters this down too much and takes away from this is a mid-range deck first plan.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, no, the deck construct, this deck's really fun. On Moto, I'm 6-1 with it. Shawn, you're probably 20-4 or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, there's 5 4-1s in a row.
I think I have 3 4-1s and a 3-2.
Jesus H. That's when I was testing Stalactite Shadow, those were my leagues. It's just trophy, 6 4-1s. A 3-2, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. Before the Super Cool, I played 90 matches on that deck. It was disgusting. That's how I farmed the 100+ chests.
And I think it's worth noting, I have not played a tempo deck in Legacy for years prior to this.
This is kind of just damn, tempo decks are easy.
If you've got good Magic fundamentals, tempo decks are going to take you pretty far in the current meta.
Yeah. They'll bail you out quite a bit too. We got anything else, Kobe?
Let's see. Well, okay. What are your matchups looking like? What are your best matchups? What are your worst matchups?
I think the worst matchup. I mean, so traditionally with blue black tempo, it's normally land styles decks. But land style decks are just kind of soft to reanimator stuff. Unless they have crop rotation and they're really tactic.
Yeah, you guys should just sit in front of the camera and talk about this. It's I hear you. My boyfriend's off screen.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
You were fitting with cards. You were fitting with cards though.
Yeah. So in general, blue black tempo, soft to land based strategies, but I think the Entombs the reanimator part of the deck really shores up a lot of the issues that these style of decks tend to have against Maze of Ith kind of shit, Maze of Ith, whatever, pretty fucking bad against Archon of Cruelty. You need to swords that one ASAP after discarded you twice and I've drawn 2 fresh ones kind of thing. But so for this, I'm kind of worried about Chalice of the Void in particular. So game 1, they resolve a Chalice, you're just kind of GG's, we're out. Because this doesn't play a Brazen Borrower main deck or anything. It's kind of in the post-board games where you get the 2 Borrowers and you get the 2 Explosives effects where you're just yeah, Chalice, fuck off, bye. But it's still kind of sketchy because you have a game 3.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, versus the one time that somebody chaliced me on turn 1, I didn't have a Force of Will. I got to just go into in response on tap Animate Dead and won the game.
Okay.
So.
Another point for Animate Dead. I mean, the further you play away from Chalice with these kind of decks, the more you're yeah.
You could just run 61.
I could. I don't like doing that.
I was gonna say that It's funny to me that this deck is probably most scared of both of the cards that are of the Void, Chalice of the Void and Leyline of the Void. Like, Leyline on turn 0 seems like really good against this deck, because it shuts off Stalactite Stalker's ability to grow, it shuts off Murktide, it shuts off your Reanimator targets. What does that leave you with? Bowmasters and, like, Hardcast Grief?
Well, Leyline of the Void, if you're not getting hit with it in game 1...
Like, you can kind of predict, like, what decks are playing Leyline, you know?
You do have Brazen Borrower to answer it.
Sure.
And Dothy Voidwalker is a threat that comes in post board too a lot of the time that doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
But, like, Leyline of Void is also just, like, weirdly not highly represented.
No, yeah, it's at probably the lowest it's been played in a while. Like,
Because
honestly, people are
Red's
playing
running
things
for it,
like Fairy Macabre instead, or like,
Yeah.
you know, like the non-blue decks are not necessarily playing Leyline at the moment.
And people want to bring in Fairy Macabres and Surgicals when they see Reanimate and Atraxa, and you're just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna make a Murktide. I'm just gonna grow this Stalker.
I'm just gonna
like
be fair.
It's kind of easy to just be like, you know, you play against red-white, you win game 1 because you griefed their Seasoned Dungeoneer and then you reanimated it, and like they don't draw a touch the Spirit Realm. Game 2, they're just like sitting flush with like, you know, Containment Priest and 2 Fairy Macabres, and then you're just like, okay, grief. Oh yeah, okay, that's great. Stalactite Stalker, go.
Grow. Yeah.
Rise, my son.
2/2. So then it's just like you know, you're not just in game 2. You're not locked into the same 60. It's pretty easy to predict. Like, oh yeah, a lot of red decks run Fairy Macabre, Leyline of the Void. Great, let's board out the Reanimator package. Let's get these fucking Voidwalkers in here. You know, let's get the Brazen Borrowers in here. Oh, you're a Chalice deck. Okay, some explosives effects. You know, it's kind of easy to predict when people are bringing in Leyline of the Void. You know, if like a Delver deck gets you with Leyline of the Void in game 2, GG's.
You wanted it more.
Got it. You
Yeah,
should.
because what Delver
you were
deck
fucking
is going to
around.
register Graveyard Hate that's not instant or sorcery, right?
Yeah, like they're
Stone.
a lot of them like run like a Grafdigger's Cage and like a Surgical Extraction, maybe 2. But like I think like Surgical Extraction is just so fucking bad in Legacy
And
right now.
Cage, like, Stalker's just like, I'm still going.
Yeah.
Cage doesn't care. Stalker doesn't care about Cage. Murktide doesn't care
Did
about
people
Cage.
bring like Delver players bring in Cage against me when I'm playing Shadow, and I'm just like, I boarded 2 of these Reanimates out. Stalactite Stalker, go. It's a 2/2. It's like Cage is just like so not good. Like that and Surgical, I just think are not good cards right now. Especially like Surgical should be like really good against Reanimator strategies, but like when it's like a mid minus card against black-red Reanimator, why are we playing this card anymore? Why? There are just better options, I think.
This deck is deceptively good at playing through Graveyard Hate, despite how many of its cards care about the graveyard.
Yeah. Yeah, like, again, like, you know, games 2 and 3, you're just like, here's my Voidwalkers, here's my Borrower, okay, bounce the Leyline, I can play a slower game, it's fine. You know, hardcast these Griefs eventually, you know, I'm building mana with these Trolls, these Bowmasters holding you off of, like, cantripping to find, like, the good thing and kind of stalling the game, and, you know, you have these lines that you can take to play around the Graveyard Hate and to, like, play through Graveyard Hate. It's not like it's just Leyline of the Void, decks turned off. You know,
I just cast a troll the other day.
yeah. Like sometimes the games get into real garbage time, and
That's
like
when it's important to realize that Wasteland is not an auto use card.
yeah, Wasteland taps for mana.
Yes.
The more cards they print that let you tap Wasteland for mana, the more like degenerate these tempo decks get. You can tap Wasteland to cast Orcish Bowmasters.
Yes.
I can't read Twitch chat.
Wasteland's a spell.
So, one more thing.
Okay.
Do you miss Thoughtseize at all? Is Thoughtseize a good card in 2024?
I mean it's great in like Black Red Reanimator or Doomsday.
Is Thoughtseize good in tempo in 2024?
My first iteration of this had Thoughtseize on it.
Was it good?
It's not there anymore.
No, like if you're spending mana to like Thoughtseize someone and you're not immediately threatening Dark Ritual, Doomsday, or Lotus Petal, and Tomb Reanimate or something like that, I don't think you should be playing Thoughtseize. I think the card is just not what it used to be, and like the meta's way too fast. you're on the draw, and you're just like staring at a Thoughtseize. You're like, that's my interaction. Awesome. And then they go Ancient Tomb, Chrome Mox, Sticker Goblin, roll 6, Muxus, and you're like, man, this Thoughtseize looks great. Or like we could do something simpler. They go Volk, Delver of Secrets, and you're just like looking at this Thoughtseize, and you're like, fuck me, I don't want to cast this Thoughtseize against this Delver that's probably going to dome me, you know?
Or what feels bad is the top deck mode. You top deck Thoughtseize, you top deck Muxus, you know?
Yeah, that kind of shit, right? I just don't think Thoughtseize is where it's at. And also, Stalactite Stalker really rewards you for playing Grief. You know, the 0 mana interaction and being able to leverage more of your hand on turns 1 through 3 are super critical at the moment in Legacy. 0 mana interaction is at a high premium. You should be playing more 0 mana interaction. It's going to win you more games. And the Grief triggering the Stalactite Stalker is really big money, you know. Maybe you play Thoughtseize with Delver. I don't think that's great at all, but I think, you know, Grief and Stalactite Stalker kind of best friends.
The reason that I had Thoughtseize in the initial list is because I was coming at it from a lot of false viewpoints of Reanimator, and I play a higher than average number of Thoughtseizes in my traditional Reanimator list because I consider it to be a modal card.
Yeah.
It's interaction, it's also an enabler.
Yeah.
And I had the same thought coming into this of like, well, what if I need to discard a creature from my hand?
Yeah.
And that's just not the case for this deck because
You have Brainstorm.
You brainstorm to put it back. You can pitch them to Grief. You can pitch them to Force of Will.
Yeah.
Like, you don't worry about a creature getting stranded in your hand with this deck.
No, it's pretty easy. Like, you can ponder and be like, oh, there's an Archon, we can put that one on the bottom, we shuffle on. You know, we shuffle with a troll or a fetch, it's fine, we put it away, hopefully we don't draw it again anytime soon. And like, it's just really easy to either like use the creature that's in your hand as a pitch spell, as you were saying, or it's just easy to like dodge it, or it's easy to put it back. Your Ponder Brainstorm, and then you have a bazillion pitch cards. You know, you play 4 Force of Will, 2 Force of Negation, 4 Grief. I'm playing the 2 Force of Despairs. You know, that's 12 different ways of pitching these like cards, which is just awesome. You know, just be like, I think Legacy really rewards you right now, being able to leverage your hand. You know, if you're on the draw, leverage your 9 cards by turn 2, kind of thing, or have the ability to do so if you need to react or to interact or to set up a kill or something like that. But yeah, like the speed of the format just, you know, really rewards you for all these pitch spells. So yeah, I think this deck is sick. I really want to keep jamming it. Kind of was mentioning it earlier. I think that like a Rescaminator deck is kind of the place to be, just because of how insanely interactive they are and how, like, you know, they can clock you. You know, Grief Scam, Reanimate Troll next turn or something like that. You know, or just put a Stalker in play with a Grief. It's a 2/2 and a 3/2. 5 power does get there pretty quickly after you discarded 2 of their cards, as opposed to 7 turns of attacking.
Would you say that this is where blue-black tempo goes from here?
Blue-black tempo is all over the fucking place. Like,
You're not gonna get Parker to say that like Shadow's not a deck. Like Shadow's viable.
Shadow's
viable.
I think Shadow's very good. I think it's in a good spot. It's my favorite. I really like the iteration of Shadow right now that I posted, and you know, the Stalactite Stalker build is the truth. It plays very similar to Black Aggro, and I think that's a really powerful place to be in the current state of Legacy, where you're just like, here's my turn 1, turn 2 agency. I'm going fast. Sometimes I can develop this 2/2 Shadow, and then oops, on turn 3, it's dealing 8 to you after the Stalactite Stalker's already hit you for like 5 or something like that. You're on the back foot, you're an Ancient Tomb deck, and you didn't get anything to stick, and you had to tap the tomb twice for 4, you're almost fucking dead already, you know? The Shadow can have these really fast hands, and like, you know, if you see a Shadow in your opener in a game, and it's not a Shadow hand, but you have a Grief, like, it's still fine to pitch the Death Shadows to Grief, you know? Not every hand is a Shadow hand, and that's okay.
So there's still like, so what you're saying is like there's a lot of experimentation for blue-black tempo.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, like you, again, like Showcase, in the Showcase, you know, we have blue-black Delver with 14 lands, 4 of which are Wasteland and 4 Trolls. And we also have blue-black Hogak. It's also playing a Tempo Shell of Days Wasteland, Forcible Brainstorm, all that shit. You know, those are two very different decks. You still have, you know, White Bread, Scam. You have Death Shadow. You know, there's so much space to explore with Stalactite Stalker, and then there's still a bunch of other shit out there too. Like, this isn't just like the meta. The meta is very, like, you should be innovating. You should be trying new shit. You should be trying to put different spins on games right now. You know, Underground Sea is very good right now, but like there's still a bunch of other stuff. I think there's a black-green Hogak deck out there that's very good that plays Stalactite Stalker. I think there's a black-green Hogak deck, and I want to explore it. I want to like test
last night.
Yeah,
Actually, in one of the leagues.
really.
Yeah.
I think something like that would be very good in the meta right now, because you would get to play Stalactite Stalker and Hogak, and that's a fast clock. You grief scam someone and you follow it up with Hogak or Stock or something like that. You know, that's pretty absurd. You clog up the board pretty effectively. So,
Cool.
yeah. Black's in a good spot, red's in a good spot, blue's always in a good spot. I think white is kind of weak. Green, probably a little weak too, just because they can't really keep up with the speed of the format.
Keep telling everyone that white's weak so you see less Swords of Plowshares.
Swords isn't a problem anymore.
I know.
That's
it's
always
not,
been that's always been the level 1 that people just can't seem to get past. It's just like Swords is like you can play around it. It's fine. You don't have to commit 2 shadows onto the board when they have 5 cards in hand.
I know, but like, would you like to see it less anyways?
I mean, yes,
Yeah,
it'd be.
there
It's
we go.
nice. It's nice that I'm seeing it a lot less. Like, I don't play against Swords as much anymore, but it's still just like that's just like the level 1 of like Death Shadow is learning how to play around Swords and Plowshares and how you beat Swords and Plowshares. Street Wraith really good against Swords and Plowshares.
Mm-hmm.
Just rebuild your life total to Death Shadow range.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I think we're gonna call it a night here. So appreciate you tuning in. Catch Shawn tomorrow at the Shallow Grave on Twitch, 7 p.m.
Hell
Cards,
yeah.
cards broken.
Busted.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye everyone. Thanks for coming through.